I think it's a few minutes past 7, so we'd like to go ahead and get started this evening. It's my pleasure as the principal here at Lakeside High School to stand before many of you again and to welcome you to Lakeside High School. It seems like every time we turn around, Lakeside is doing something really unique or something that draws attention to it. And especially tonight, this is something that I'm extremely proud of. I have a lot of people ask me why in the world you want to be a principal, especially at a high school. And this is one of the reasons. Things that happen like this activity that these students have undertaken and have accomplished, the pride that they also have in it. I was thinking a little earlier that watching this group, how close they are together, the friendship that's there. And I was thinking maybe 10, 15, 20, 25 years from now when they come back for a reunion, wonder what one topic they're going to talk about more than anything else. I guarantee the very first thing they're going to do, Ms. Palmer, is they're going to come in here very quickly and go to this computer and see if their name is still in here with the material that they've done. These kinds of activities are what school is all about. We do great in athletics. It's very important. We do great in competitions of other types and varieties. It's great to be in the band, to be a part of something in other schools. But the bottom line still boils down to the academics and the learning that takes place. You can take away a lot of things, but you can never take away what happens in the classroom between the teacher and the student and the interchanges that take place between the students. I think I'm perhaps more proud of that for Lakeside High School than any of the other accomplishments we make or ever will make. With that being said, again, I welcome you here to Lakeside tonight. I'll turn it over to Mrs. Hamilton, the teacher of these students, and let her take it. Ms. Hamilton.
I also would like to welcome you and thank you for being a part of the excitement and joy of this project. It has been unique in many ways. The idea for the project came as a result of several situations. Last year when I was cleaning out files at the end of the year and I started to throw away some of the students' work, I really became sad. I started thinking about that some of that work was so good and no one was going to see that except the student and me. And it worried me because I thought people could learn from this and it's just too wonderful to throw away. So that was my first thought, is what I could do as a teacher to maybe have some of this work so that it could be shared. The second part of deciding what to do came when I realized that I had a new unit to do this year that involved teaching 2 books within 3 weeks. That was going to be a challenge. So I decided that this would also maybe work for that assignment. So I sent out a letter, which most of you probably heard about when your student opened the letter and found out that he or she had to read 2 books over the summer, because that's what I asked, that they read 2 books, Grapes of Wrath and Huckleberry Finn, during the summer. And I know this project did not start out as a favorite one in their minds, because I know that did not please them. But they did read, and then when they met with me for the first time, I told them that we were going to do something different. And I told them that they needed to be ready to write the very first day, or at least to get started with the writing. So when they came in, I immediately told them that they were going to write a book. Well, they were a little excited about it, and of course the excitement grew. But they worked for a week writing their essays. They had a choice of whether or not they wanted to write on Huckleberry Finn or Grapes of Wrath, and they had to do a critical analysis piece. It could have been research work, or it could have been their own writing. So they worked really hard getting the work together. The second phase was to then edit other students' work. And I didn't know what the project was going to be like. I had never done anything like this before, and I didn't know if it was going to be a success. And it also was so different for me. I am a traditional teacher. I believe I'm supposed to be behind this podium, and I'm supposed to be telling everybody what I know. And it was the hardest thing in the world for me to leave this podium and not get up there every day and say something. The first 3 days, I was walking the floor, literally. I just didn't know how to act because it was just so out of the ordinary. But they took control, and they really, did everything. I just wanted them to ask me something. I would go in there and say, please ask me something. And sometimes they did it, but they were in control. The second week when they got to the editing, I didn't know how much really would be a fair assignment. So I had wanted to expose them to as much of the students' writing as they, could possibly handle. So I had decided on 4 pieces per day. And I had told them to do line by line and paragraph by paragraph editing. Well, I stressed to them that they should do a really good job. I didn't realize totally the kind of student I was dealing with. I didn't know that some of them were going to go home and spend 6 and 7 hours a night dealing with this. So I had to learn a lot from it, and I apologize to some of you parents who probably had lights on at your house at 2 o'clock in the morning. I just didn't know that they were going to work so hard. But I also congratulate you because I think you need to be aware that you probably, for the rest of your life, are going to have a perfect child. Because I really realize that some of these are totally perfect in what they do. So they edited. They finally got around making me aware by Wednesday that they were about to kill themselves, with this assignment. So we dropped it back, and the last night or so they only had to do 3 instead of 4 editing. By this time, they were really getting tired. But they were enjoying it too. And I guess they, just wasn't going to tell me. Finally, some of them did. But if I do the project again, I won't do that many editing pieces. You have to live and learn, and I won't do it that way again. I'll, cut down on that. But then after they edited, they took the 15 pieces of work that had been, done by the other students, and they started trying to decide what needed to be redone. And this was enlightening for some of them because all of a sudden they had conflicting pieces of information. People didn't criticize the same items in the paper, and they didn't know which way to go. Some of them would come in to me and they'd say, what do I do? This person said this was good, and the other one said this was hard. And I said, well, that's part of, subjective grading. You're going to find that not everybody looks for the same thing. So now you have to go through a process of weighing the situation and deciding what you want to do. So they did. They came back in on Monday with a new revised essay. Then I didn't look at it anymore, nor did any of the other students, except put the book together. So we did not do any final editing. There are errors, and you'll see some of them as you write. And at first, that bothered me a little bit. And then I realized that's part of the beauty of this project, because the third thing I had envisioned was that this could result in something that the whole student body could use. And I've already talked to some of the English teachers about now taking these students' work and using it in the classroom to help teach other students so that they can use the pieces as editing material. As a teacher, it's very hard sometimes to find material that is good but has a few errors in it. And you can, do something with and yet not really get the students frustrated. So now we hope that other teachers will take it and other students will take it and learn from what these students have done. From there, they went into their different groups, and we're going to let Sonal Shaw tell you about the group work and what each of them did. But I just want to say that I really appreciate your putting up with the nights that they were doing extra homework, because they really did on a lot of nights. And I want you to know that I don't know if they have been quite so verbal at home about their enthusiasm, but I think most of them have enjoyed this. And I really, am proud of them for being able to do this. So, your turn.
Okay, well, we all had to get in committees that we felt that we could contribute art committee. The cover committee basically went around the Augusta area and took pictures of what they felt that would reflect the ideas of the cover the most. Stop it. The assembly committee, they had to read through every essay all over again, and they had to decide which categories. Okay. Assembly committee, they read through all the papers and decided which groups they had to put in and came up with titles for each section and came up with the contents. The typing committee, they typed throughout lunch, during their class periods, and sometimes after school. And Solomon even took a computer home to type papers. And the art committee, they went through and decided what kind of artwork would be needed, and they drew it or took photographs, and they assembled the artwork throughout the books. And they did really a good job. Anyway, that's all I had to say. At this time, we would just like to recognize those who worked on the book, the students who contributed to the book, and let the parents know what their child was actually doing during all this time. And I'm going to read out first period, and I'm going to read their name, the committee they were on, and the essay that they did. And some of these wrote on Huckleberry Finn and the Grapes of Wrath, but this period especially worked on Huckleberry Finn. And fifth period is the same thing, but they did work on the Grapes of Wrath by themselves. And the first one is Shabir Abu Bakr, and he was on the Assembly Committee, and he wrote Immorality of Slavery of Huckleberry Finn. Heather Bardrin was on the Assembly Committee, and she wrote Selfless Characters in the Grapes of Wrath. Mark Benet worked on the cover. Thanks, Mark. He wrote The Drowning of Racism in the Mississippi. Marcus Hurley was on the Typing Committee. Samuel Clemens' social commentary of immorality in post-Bell America in his novel, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, which is the longest title in the whole work. Paul Kim was on the Typing Committee, and he wrote Twain's Use of Superstition in The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Sandra Kim, who is not here, was on the Typing Committee, and she wrote Representation of Slavery in Huckleberry Finn. Heather Mamate was on the Typing Committee, an analysis of the character of Huckleberry Finn. Matt Mills worked on the cover. Twain's use of the king and the Duke to express his views on society. Will Mitchell, cover. Quest for Paradise, critical analysis in the Grapes of Wrath. Henry Munemer was on the Typing Committee. He wrote Morality versus Survival in the Grapes of Wrath. Sean Roy was on the Assembly Committee. The Grapes of Wrath as an allegory, and it was a mini research paper. Danny Sheehan, Assembly, Naturalism in the Grapes of Wrath. Becky Van Els, Assembly, Tenant Farmers to Migrants, Grapes of Wrath as a social criticism. Jill Vaughn was on Assembly, The Grapes of Wrath as a criticism. Bethany Vernon, Typing Committee, What About That Turtle? Simply The Grapes of Wrath. Quinn Wallace did artwork, and he was both politics and morality in The Grapes of Wrath. Jay Whitaker was on the Assembly Committee, a character comparison between Huck and Jim. J.R. Wolf was on the cover. Huck, them kids just ain't gonna get it. And that was interesting. Didn't mean it like that. And Brooke Wright, Assembly, is Mark Twain Races and the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. And Grace Yu did artwork, and and every other committee I think that was there. Distorted Values, a general abolitionist statement. And there were a few that weren't here this evening, and we'd like to let you know who they were. They had conflicting schedules, they weren't able to make it. And they are Vaughn Ennis, and she was on the artwork committee, and she did Migrants and Slaves, comparison of Huckleberry Finn and the Grapes of Wrath. Monique Lombard, I didn't forget her, was on the Assembly Committee, and the Individual versus Morality and Acceptance of Huckleberry Finn. And Ananya Mukherjee, who was on the Typing Committee, and the Sharing of Sorrows, and it was a comparison of Huckleberry Finn and the Grapes of Wrath. And now Merritt Rigsby is going to introduce or acknowledge the period. What I'm supposed to speak about. Grace said to come say something. She said say what Brooke said, so that's what I'm doing. Basically, fifth period is a much smaller class. You don't have to listen to all the names, or as long as names.
The Grapes of Wrath. And we also did, 2 people did books on both, did essays on both books, and they were in the Grapes of Wrath book. Anyway, Shameen Bhatti was on the Assembly Committee, and she wrote Twain's Criticism of Religion and The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Shashir Chakshi was on the Artwork Committee. Racist, one asks oneself? No, not quite. Salman Dasti was on the Typing Committee. Innocence and Man's Natural Depravity. It was on Huckleberry Finn. Brian Frito was on the Assembly Committee and wrote The Romantic Tom Sawyer versus the Practical Huck Finn. Cindy Gwynn was on the Typing Committee. She wrote a discussion of moral values and the adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Jeff Locksmith was on the Cover Committee and wrote Tom Sawyer's Romantic Side. Jason Morley was on the Cover Committee, wrote Huckleberry Finn versus Society. Christina Petrides was on the Artwork Committee and wrote Respectability, Christianity, and Slavery. DJ Phelps, Assembly, Death and Change, Symbolism, and Grapes of Wrath. Scott Points, Typing Committee, Nature and Huckleberry Finn. Merritt Rigsby, Assembly, Huck Finn and the Impact on the World. Matt Richley was on the Assembly Committee and wrote Huck's Quest for Wildness. Sonal Shah was on the Cover Committee. Who Wears the Pants in the Jode Family? That, by the way, was Ma Jode. Liberty Zordell was on the Artwork Committee. He wrote The Boy in the River, Critical Analyses of Huck Finn. And now I believe that Grace is going to speak.
I think Ms. Hamilton did mention the letter she sent us, and yes, most of us were walking in there expecting to get a pop quiz over all of both books, which I know some still haven't read, but I won't mention any names. And I know I can't speak for everyone because some people probably didn't really love this project, but a lot of us really were very excited about the project, and we feel like we did get a lot out of it. We were very excited that we did actually get to choose what we got to write on this time. You know, we weren't spoon-fed any information at all about, you know, what we thought that she might want us to write, and we just kind of got to pick our own topics and write whatever we wanted to. And it was good for us also as far as the editing went. We got to read for once. We got to read a lot of other people's papers and hear a lot of different ideas, because usually by the time we finished our own papers, we didn't want to hear about it anymore. So we got to read a lot of different things, and I think we learned just as much from reading so many different papers as we did, you know, if we sat in class and discussed, especially since a lot of us had studied them before. And I think the editing helped all of us a lot as far as looking at other people's mistakes. We're now even better able to catch our own when we proofread our own papers. I'm very tired because I've been on my feet all day. And most of all, we're all very excited about being able to type our name in here under author and find ourselves. I think we left all these computers today when school shut down. We left all the computers on and they all had our names on them. And I know personally, I now know how to use that Xerox machine in the office every possible way. And we really did enjoy this project, and we are really glad that we will in some way be remembered now since we're all leaving. And that's all I have to say, and I believe Miss Heather Bargeron is up next.
Hi, I'd like to just acknowledge all of the different teachers and adults who really helped out with this project. I'll just read it straight off the sheet from the book because that makes it easy for me. The senior AP classes would like to thank Ms. Florence McClure, Ms. Sheila Hancock, and Ms. Jane Lewis for the use of their computers. The media staff, Ms. Judy Palmer especially, she was so helpful in this project. She basically put it all together onto the computer after we had all the papers, and she was very understanding about the confusion that was going on, and we really want to thank her. Thanks, Ms. Carol Taylor and Ms. Glenda Carpenter for the computers and assistance with the printing and binding processes. Ms. Lewis and Leah Manziak for helping with the photography, and Ms. Hamilton, again, for the creative initiative that gave us the opportunity to leave something we can be proud of. I'd also like to tell you a little bit about the dedication. When we first got started on this project, Ms. Hamilton had the idea just to dedicate the the books to the school, you know, just as a general kind of dedication. But the students started thinking, you know, why not dedicate it to the person who really got the idea started and who, you know, who is responsible for the whole thing, and who really had to just sit back and watch everybody, like she was saying, you know, do everything without saying, let me help you. And so we decided to dedicate the book to Miss Hamilton, and unfortunately she found out about it because she was involved in the whole writing and copying processes. But here it is, her little picture. And we're not sure if this is wine in the glass or not. Her husband gave it to us, and so anyway, there it is. And thank you very much, Ms. Hamilton, for allowing us to do this during class.
You do get surprises when you turn your classroom over to students. This is one of them. I did find that about Friday afternoon, but that's remarkable that they kept it from me that long. I just can't believe they did that right under my nose. But when I saw it, it really was a special moment for me, and it is now. They are so great to work with. They really are great students. You know them as parents. I feel like I know another side of them now. And this is a special moment because I think as a teacher, you just don't know whether or not a project's always been successful, and you kind of wonder if they're ever going to remember anything you said. And I think this has been something that they're going to remember and I'm going to remember. And I just am very thankful that I've had the opportunity to work with them, and I don't think they're going to be out of my mind for a long time to come. I really do know that this group's going to go places. You know, I have a lot of feelings about how strong they are as leaders. They have just totally taken control, and it's really a nice thing to see. Some of them more control than others. There are a couple more people. I'd also like to thank Mrs. Amy Bright, who is Brooke's mother, who is in the audience tonight. At the last minute, she was able to bring a machine to help us with the binding from one of the other schools from Evans Elementary, and that helped. And then the junior high, Lakeside Junior High, was able to contribute a machine for us to use too. So we may have left some people out as far as the thank you list. Ms. Palmer certainly did a great deal. And we need to say thank you to Mr. McNally for providing all of these copies. When your student comes home with a test from me written on a grocery bag next to me, you'll know that Mr. McNally has finally said no more copies in Hamilton, because I really have extended my welcome, I think, in that department. But thank you for coming. Anything else?
All the students that want copies, I think everyone does. They're all finished, so you can come and pick them up and we'll check you off.
And you get to take this exciting piece of work home. So, thanks for coming. We have some refreshments they can bake too. They were in charge of that too. I didn't do a bit of that. So thanks for coming. We really appreciate it.
Hand it, you know, sort of give it to Mr. McNally and Ms. Palmer.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
You see they're a take charge group. There you go, that's good. We're not even in it. Sorry.
Are you in there, Chuck? No, I'm next year, maybe. I'm a junior AP class. I can do record. It's probably
No more, man. Take them back to your other house.
You're last. You get the books last.
Stop. What happened? Why were you
I'll
give Scott half of it. He only got
I know. Well, he got here for about the last page. I just want to see.
Thanks for that offer. We may call on you again.